Hello everybody, and welcome to Leybourne Lakes in March. Only just in March, it's the 31st of March, so we're in just before it turns into April, which is quite exciting. It's been an absolutely beautiful day in Kent here. Now, if you're new to my channel, please do subscribe, but also for the next 15 minutes it's just going to be a pre-tour chat. Hello Anne, how are you? Hello Catherine. Oh, Tish must be on board because Catherine's saying hello. Hello Trista, nice to see you live. Not live. I mean, it's good to see you live, but I mean it's good to anyway. Hello Sarah. Are you new to my channel? Or have you got a new surname? Hello Rosie. So hi Kathy, and a happy birthday for yesterday. Rosie, I would applaud, but if I applaud, I drop my gimbal. And then it's just going to be a mess. Excuse the really fit people walking behind me. That's just scary. I must admit, I thought to myself, what I'll do is I'll walk round, because I'm not sure I've started from this place before, and I've sat down. And as I sat down, I noticed the bench, and I was like, I've been here before. Have I started from this place before, or have I just been here before? So perhaps I'm not as original as I thought. Hello, Tricia, how are you? Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's wonderful. I love it when we get people come back. So yes, we're all going to have to sing to Kathy because it is her birthday yesterday. But depending on what time zone, no, actually there is no time zone that makes it still today, is it? Was also my mummy's birthday yesterday. So she's had a mummy birthday and a mummy day today. So, not that she's done anything because she's looking after her husband. So, but at least she had the nice weather for it. I cleaned my cameras on the back of the phone to make sure there was nothing grimy on there. And then I put the phone in the gimbal, turned it on, and it was so cloudy. And in between me cleaning it, putting it down, picking it back up again, I've put my dirty mitts all over it. So I excelled myself. Now, sound-wise, I hope you can't hear the car or the wind. I mean, we're in a fairly sheltered spot at the moment. But I did some testing with the microphone today, and it is definitely the microphone, not the connector, not the phone. Hello, Michael. Well done for being on time. Well done, you. And so I am now considering what I do next. My only concern was that I did try it with an Android microphone and earpieces to check it wasn't actually the phone. And there was a little bit of crackling, and not pork crackling. Hello, Ronnie. You can hear the wind, but it's okay. Yes, well, Sam messaged me today because I do her calendars. I don't do her calendars. I put her tours on the calendar. And she said, oh, I'm going to have to postpone because it's blowing a gale. And I was like, oh, I didn't check the wind. I'd been so busy checking the sun and no rain, I forgot to check for wind. But sometimes wind comes up unexpectedly, doesn't it, guys? So I've had a little bit of an odd day today. I've been abused at, would you believe, Sainsbury's petrol station. It's not Sainsbury's fault. I had just paid for some petrol, otherwise I wasn't going to be able to get to Leybourne Lakes. And there was a red convertible, hello Linda, blocking the way out. So I thought I'll just wait here. I wasn't particularly in a rush, but one of the people either behind me or to the side of me that's trying to exit honked. And I don't mean a bird honk, I mean a boop. That's a terrible impression of a car honk. Anyway, and the woman who must have being the other half or the parent of this driver, I saw her coming out of Sainsbury's, and she came up, looked at my car, and she gave me the middle finger. And I thought, how outrageous. Oh, what's that? What's that? That's very noisy. Oh no, it's a car. I was going to turn it around so you could see the plane, but it's just an exhaust. Not quite so exciting. So I thought to myself, well, that's a little bit rude, isn't it? And as we drove past, she turned around and she was swearing at me. And because obviously I was driving very slowly, I opened my window. I mean, unfortunately, I opened the wrong window first, so I lost some of my class. And I said it wasn't me who beeped. It was the bloke behind me. And before this explanation, she had used the F word and the C word directed towards me. And I thought, do you know, even had I been the honker, I think it's a little bit extreme. Hello, Dawn. So I was all a bit of the flabber and the gasted that somebody would take it upon themselves to be quite so rude to whether or not you had or had not honked. And of course I was an innocent bystander in the honking department. There was no honk from my car. Yes, so anyway, I thought to myself, well, you know, actually I will go and tell Sainsbury's customer service. I don't know why, but I thought they might want to know in case they actually got anybody else complain about it. And so met a lovely customer service lady. Well, even that didn't go well. So the lady said to me, oh, you need to go over there, and pointed me towards the Bureau de Change. And I was like, well, I'm not hanging around, goodness gracious. I've got enough on my to-do list without queuing. So, and then I said, is there anybody else in customer service? And she said, oh, yes, she's down there. So I had to go back to where I was. So I'm like, oh, this is already quite a palaver, quite frankly. And I'm afraid now we've got kids cycling past. I think they're just shouting ridiculousness. And so she was lovely. And she said that she too had been sworn at the petrol station. So I felt like I was no longer just... I don't know whether or not I should have felt I was more special by being the only one, but I wasn't the only one. So, and then she said, well, I'm sure the duty manager would like to hear. And I thought, the duty manager probably doesn't want to hear, and I don't really want to wait for the duty manager to tell the duty manager something that she probably doesn't care about. Hello, Nat. And anyway, she then did an announcement for a couple of things after she'd called the duty manager, and I actually was tempted to grab said microphone. I don't know what I would have said at this time. Perhaps invited everybody to my tour. Hello, Leslie. And duty manager comes along, and quite frankly, she obviously didn't really care, and she did say, well, it's not really in our control what a customer can do or does. And I was like, well, yes, I'm well aware of that, which is why I didn't really want the duty manager in the first place. And therein ended, 10 minutes of my life. And here I am now, talking to you on a bench in Leybourne Lakes, hoping that the sun will stay so we get a beautiful, beautiful sky for our tour. And also so that I don't freeze. I thought it was nice sitting on the bench, but everybody's kind of walking past me in some sort of fitness fanatic way. Hello! I've already managed to forget who I wanted to say hello to by distracting myself. Hello, Susan. So anybody that's just joined, you're going to need to listen back to the pre-live to listen all about the abuse in the petrol station saga. And while I'm sat here, I can see that all of the little birds that were on the water have now basically moved, and that's fine. I'm sure we'll get lots of opportunities to see them, because it would be rather annoying if the focus for this tour is on a certain bird and none appear. But we'll make them up. We'll create fantasy birds if that's the case. So Nat's on a replacement bus service. Is that back in the UK, or is she just trying to get home? Oh, it's very windy. I do apologise for the wind. I will need to do a little bit of research on the old replacing the microphone. Now I know mine is definitely dead as a dodo. There is no resuscitation on the microphone, despite several attempts to do things with it. Pigbird, yes. Oh, right, you're in Kent. Well, there you are, you see. That serves you right for coming to Kent and not meeting up with me. It is Sunday, so often with British Rail you get bus replacements. No, you won't get bus replacements, will you? The buses aren't replaced. The trains are replaced with buses. So, we've got 4 minutes pre-tour chat left, and then we are going to jump right into it. I wonder if Margaret will be joining us. Margaret usually tells me when I'm late. There's a little puppy behind me. And she's back in Kent tomorrow. Fine, fine. Well, I'll be in Kent tomorrow, actually. And I'll be in Kent on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday. And you get the drift. So I'll just lean over gracefully. Ah, hello, Fran. Hope all is well in Fran's world. If there's anybody I missed while I was recounting my story, I do apologise. Let your presence be known, and I will say hello now. Hello, it's Mummy Sanderson. Claire Sanderson's doing band stuff. Not band stuff as in B-A-N-N-E-D. Band as in musical stuff. Although now I'm quite excited by the thought of her doing stuff that's banned. I'm just not sure what she could be doing that's banned. Beth's not hazard a guess, really, or a guess even while her mummy's on board. Can hear a few bird noises going on, which is nice. Well, Leslie, you see, you will need to listen up. I'm afraid I have no time today for recounting personal stories where I'm abused, because it's just going to be packed full of I would say quacking stories, but honking stories. Hi, Laurie. So I saved it for the pre-tour. Oh, Leslie went out without a coat. Look at me without a coat. I mean, I had to debate the level of hoodie I needed to wear, and I decided I would go with my thicker hoodie. Not my thickest hoodie, because that indeed is needing to go in the wash, but not my fleecy hoodie, which is a slightly lower level of warmth. It's quite fantastic how much time is spent on these types of thought processes. And Fran's got snow. Oh, good Lord. I don't envy you that. Winter number 5. Well, this is glorious. It really has been absolutely lovely. I even got my little gravity sun lounger out and had a bit of a lay down, made a phone call. Lovely. Bit of sun. Yes, I love this hoodie colour too. It's actually was gifted to me by the category manager at the RSPCA, so even better. What's better than a hoodie? It's a free hoodie. Mr. Baloo, oh my baby Baloo, if you remind me, I will post a video of him having his tummy rubbed while I was sat out the front. He loves the sun, which I think is why he's gone such a gingery brown colour. In Texas, it's got severe thunderstorms. Good Lord. Oh, it's 6:15. 6:15 on the nose. Thank you so much. Right then. So welcome. We are indeed in Leybourne Lakes, which is in the Tunbridge and Malling borough, and it's absolutely beautiful. And today's tour, we are going to be focusing on swans. So hopefully we're going to see some today. I'm going to turn the camera around because you don't need to see my face. high lethargy just in time before I start. And what we're going to do is just look at this gorgeous, gorgeous view. And I'm going to try and walk down here without falling flat on my face, which would be very uncool. I did actually, I did a bit of weeding yesterday, and I lifted up some grass that had kind of been growing in the, what should be full of things that I've planted that I haven't done, and as I pulled really hard on it, unfortunately I fell onto my backside. Luckily nobody saw. Isn't that just beautiful? Be even better if I couldn't hear the now. There is certainly, this tour, it's all going to be about swans, which is why I'm jolly well hoping we'll see some. Hello Casey, yes, happy Mother's Day to everybody who is a mother to a human baby, a feline baby, or ever wanted a baby of the human or feline variety. I was woken up this morning at 6 o'clock with Baloo vomiting. Of course, the clocks have gone back, so actually it's really 5 o'clock. So I'm now doing a great trick of walking backwards. Oh, those houses are very much sought after. What a wonderful, wonderful view they have across this wonderful lake. Now, I've just got some people walking up behind me, so I'm going to just let them walk past before we leave this section and go for a little jaunt around the lake. Did I say the clocks have gone back? Yes, the clocks have gone forward. Ignore whatever I say unless it's related to swans. Something happened with the clocks. Yes, you see, I actually only say these things to make sure that you're paying attention. And the good news is that you are. It's a bit like when on my last tour you told me it was March, not May. So, you know. Interestingly enough, well not interestingly enough, ridiculously enough, I got in the car and I went, I'm an hour early for the tour. And then I was, oh no, actually, the clocks have gone forward and mine doesn't automatically update. But for a very wee minute, I thought to myself, oh, that's embarrassing, I'm going to have to go back for an hour. Right, the people are now making their way. Oh, for goodness sake. Well, no, I'll be honest, shall I get everything wrong? It's also the 30th of March, not the 31st. So there was me saying it's the last day. I tell you, the menopause is real, guys. The menopause is real. So we're going to be looking at my shadow as we're walking past. My shadow will be with us for the majority of the tour. Might leave at some point, depending on the levels of sun. Now, there are 6 different species of swan. There's the mute swan, the black swan, the black-necked swan, the whooper, the trumpeter, and the tundra. Now, the tundra has 2 subspecies, which is called berrics and whistling. Now, some of these obviously have been given their names because of their appearance, and others because of the noise they make. Indeed. Now, the UK know the whooper, so W-H-O-O-P-E-R, And Leslie has spelt Berwick's. Thank you. Mute is M-U-T-E. Now, although we have... Oh, interesting now. Might be Buicks. Now, Buicks. Oh, Buicks. Right, I'm with you, Mike. Well, I'm going to say that Mike isn't leading me off the garden path, and everything I've been reading about Berwick's is now Buicks, which actually is a car. So, well, funny enough, Linda, you know I'm going to incorporate some of this into a swan quiz, which is going to include how to spell Whooper and how to pronounce Buicks. Now, so the UK has 3 of these species: the Mute, the Buick and the Whooper. Now I see where Oompa Loompa came from in the chat. Now, Whooper and Buicks, thank goodness you corrected me early, go thousands of miles each year. Now, they go between their summer breeding grounds in the Arctic to the UK in the winter for a warmer climate, which is slightly amusing that actually they'd come to the UK in the winter for a warmer climate, because quite frankly I'd like to be leaving the UK for a warmer climate. Yes, and Tish has indeed found the law firm, the Mute, Buick and Whooper. Now, the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust explains the difference between these 3. The Buick and Whooper have a yellow and black bill. The Mute is orange and black. The Mute also has a large mass at the top of its bill and is known as a knob swan across most of Europe. And I really hoped Mike was going to be here for that, so thank you for joining, Mike. Now, the rounded shape of the yellow on the Buicks is like a knob of butter. The yellow triangle on the Whooper is like a wedge of cheese. And when I wrote that, I felt to myself I could almost hear Wallace talking about Wensleydale. Now, Buicks are smaller and have a shorter, straighter neck than a Whooper and a Mute. And Whoopers hold their necks with more of a bend than a Buick. I mean, if that isn't complicated enough. Now, Buicks and Whoopers have a bugling honking call, whereas the Whooper is slightly deeper. Whereas Mute swans, and I like this, often communicate in coarse grunts, which I'm sure some people do. Now, unfortunately, and as Leslie has noted, because of warmer temperatures, it means their numbers have been reducing in the UK. There's not as much need to fly to the UK when it's warmer closer to the Arctic. So the Mute swans are not mute, but they are less vocal than other species. Now, the swan's closest relatives include geese and ducks. Now, it's actually hard to tell a swan from a goose when it's flying, and unfortunately, it's legal to shoot several goose species in Europe. Now, no other waterfowl moves as fast on water or in the air. They migrate in diagonal or V formation at great height, so I wouldn't make a great swan. Now, there is spoiler alert, thank you Mike, there is a group of black swans in Devon, and they were introduced in the 1940s as well as other exotic waterfowl. Now most black swans you'll find in the UK have actually escaped from private collections. And of course, then they'll make more babies. And so, the circle of life. Now we're walking up here to the cafe. Not I'm afraid, for us all to get a nice little sandwich. But if you do come to Leybourne Lakes and you would like something to eat, then you can come along here. And this is a bit of an area for more of these birds. We'll be talking about that later, Casey. So we'll have a good debate about ownership of swans later on in the tour. And I haven't got my glasses on. So, and I think from the markings down here, that does look like a juvenile swan coming up. So if you can all sort of resist chatting about ownership of swans until we get to that section, because that's part of the tour. Otherwise, Casey, I'll have to fly to Canada. Which probably would go down quite well. What I plan to do over time is talk to you about all the different species. Well, not maybe all of them, because there's probably hundreds. Talk about the different species that we see here. We've already had a conversation about ducks. Hello. Hello, lovely. The sad thing is, oops, that I know Mr. Duck is actually only probably coming anywhere near me because he thinks that I'm going to feed him. Although maybe the grass is greener on this side. That to me is just a quintessential duck. Now, the Swan Sanctuary is a charity dedicated to the care and treatment of swans and waterfowl, and has got lots of helpful information on its site. And I'm mentioning it because A, I did consider if they'd let us do a tour there, as it's in Middlesex, and B, because I've taken quite a lot of the information that they had. So thank you, the Swan Sanctuary. Now, the mute swan will mate at any time from spring through to summer, with cygnets born from May until July. They can hatch up to 10 eggs at a time, and what's really interesting is you can go a little bit mad when you're looking at number of eggs, because different sites all seem to give different numbers, but it appears that there's about an average of about 6. It's sadly not uncommon for all the cygnets to be lost to predators, but it's also not uncommon for most to survive. So I'm distracted by the duck slightly, just making a bit of a drama down there. I tell you, it goes quite quickly, doesn't it? But we're not talking about you today, duck. We're talking about swans. Now, it depends. The cygnet's survival will depend on location and protection. Now, as the parents get older, they learn from their experience. Sadly, they learn from their mistakes. I can try zooming in. Oh, hello, ducky. Ducky's after me now. This could be interesting. I don't need to zoom into this one. Hello, you've got incredibly orange feet. Please don't peck me. I'm not food. Yes, you're very lovely, but you've got a big beak. And, yeah, and you're shaking your tail feather. Very nice. Well, I'm kind of stuck here then. Don't make any sudden moves. Step away from the tour guide. Yep. It's a virtual tour guide, so pretend I'm not here. So you could have done this when I was talking about the ducks. Oh, waddle. Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for not pecking me. You're very kind. Right. Of course, now we've done that, all the birds have disappeared. Literally, do you realise what you've done? Do you realise what you've done? Are you at all sorry for it? No. You distracted me. Every other bird went off. And, yeah. Thanks. Tom. This is, sorry, the music the duck's doing. La 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 la. And goodbye, virtual tour guide. Thanks. Don't worry, there'll be more. No, not in the least bit sorry. And I do think it was deliberate. And nothing you say will make me change my mind. Thought it was a sweet little duck, but now I know better. La 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 la. Nice flowers as I try and squeeze through a very small gap without falling on my face. Always a challenge. Now, swans breed throughout their lives, but the number of eggs that they lay decreases over time. It takes 2 to 3 weeks to build the nest, which isn't bad when you think how long it takes to build a house. And then the egg laying begins with an egg laid every 12 to 24 hours. Now, once all the eggs are laid, and that can take 2 to 3 weeks, they will be incubated, which basically means they get sat on. That starts the growth process at the same time, and hatching is usually within 42 days, so about 6 weeks later. Now, if she sits on the eggs, and she's still sitting on the eggs, she must be able to feel their movement. Females lose around 1/4 of their body weight during nesting, so I'm considering it as some sort of diet plan. Now, by doing this, it allows her to judge when the eggs should be hatching. So you shouldn't feed swans on the nest because it upsets her brooding clock, and of course it encourages vermin. Now, she will feast before nesting, so I'm doing feasting but no nesting. This is where I'm falling down. As she knows, food will be more difficult to get. It's absolutely fascinating that she knows to do all this. Now, a male swan is called the cob, and the female is called the pen. Now, if the female disappears for any reason, not because she's upped and left, but for more sinister reasons, the male will take over the nesting process, and he can rear them on his own, as can she. Now, newborn cygnets are mainly lost to crows, herons, magpies, turtles, pikes, and large perch. Both cygnets and adult swans are prey to foxes and mink. Now, the parents usually stay with their cygnets for 6 months, and this is rather lovely. When they're old enough to look after themselves, they cut parental ties and chase them away, sometimes aggressively. We could all sit on our Easter eggs and see if that does anything. I think it'll just mean we have melted Easter eggs. So probably not the best suggestion I've made. Now, these cygnets usually join the first flock of swans that they find and stay with them until they mature, which is at about 4 years old. It's then deemed to be an adult, and it will seek out a mate, usually from the flock it's with, and they'll go off to find their own mating territory. So you probably can't see, but through the trees there are some swans, and we'll hopefully be coming up to a clearing soon, and we'll be able to have a proper absolutely Cadbury chocolate eggs will count with the diet. Unfortunately, it's the increased diet, not the decreased diet. Now, they'll go and find their own mating territory. If another mating pair is nearby, then there can be territorial battles, and the losers have to move on. Swans usually mate for life. Now, what's really sad is if they lose their mate, they go through a grieving process like humans. And after this, they will either stay where they are on their own, they'll fly off and find a new stretch of water to live on, and a new mate might come in and join them, or they'll fly off and join a new flock. Seem to have distracted people now with the talk of eggs. Now, in protected environments, swans can live up to 30 years. But in the wild, with vandals, pollution, dogs, foxes, mink, overhead cables, bridges, pylons, lead poisoning, and fishing tackle, the average is 12 years. Now, bans on lead in fishing weights is helpful. However, having looked into that, it was a bit like a rabbit hole, and it appears there's depends on the size of the weight, and I hadn't realised what a significant impact it has had. Interesting that you can't have lead, but you can chuck it in the water, or you have been able to. I think we have some mole hairs, or maybe people have been digging for trees, or ants. Or maybe just to put trip hazards in my way. apologies because I can hear the wind. I'll do my best to procure a new microphone. Shall we take this very high up, dangerous path? I'm sure other guides aren't quite so brave as me, able to walk at these heights. But I'll do it for you guys because it's the type of person I am. And also I've grown incredibly long legs. We'll wait for these children to pass and then we'll wander up the bridge to our left. Looks like a couple of magpies there. Perhaps they were hearing me talk about them. It is very windy, Leslie, and I do apologise, as I said at the beginning. My microphone is broken, and I hope it isn't ruining the tour. It's alright, I got down safely. I'm very proud of myself. And now, of course, I'm in an incredibly high bridge again, just showing my bravery. That side's perhaps not quite so exciting to look at. It is truly a beautiful place to have a wander. I am brave and fearless. Thank you for noticing, everybody. Now I'm hoping we're coming up to a dip soon. I'm hoping there'll be some waterfowl on the other end of it. Now, adult males are heavier, of course, and they weigh 11 to 12 kilograms, which I would say is about up to 3 times the size of a average female cat, maybe 4 kilograms. That's the way I base it on. Females 8.5 to 9 kilograms. So actually, you know, which is about twice the size of a male cat, maybe. So I don't know, mine go from one end of being overweight to being underweight. As they get older, they're not perhaps a good barometer. But actually, not that light. Wouldn't be going around picking them up, but we'll be talking about that later. Now, incredibly, a male's wingspan stretches to almost 2.5 meters. I'm not sure what my wingspan is. Perhaps I should get myself measured and see how I would compare. Now, swans can take off from land, but they need 30 yards to become airborne, and about the same again to clear obstacles such as houses. And really, it's quite vital that they clear those obstacles. Now in July and August they molt, meaning they can't fly for approximately 6 weeks from the time they've lost their flight feathers to the time they grow new ones. Now breeding pairs don't molt at the same time, as then they and any offspring would be too vulnerable to attack. And again, that's just crazy. How do they know that? Nature is absolutely fantastic. Look at the reflections on the water. Now this is a course where I was hoping there'd be a great big group of birds, and I've come up with one, and that's going away from us, so that's marvellous. What we'll do is we'll stand here and try to resemble a very tasty piece of food. I'm not sure pink is the colour. there's a swan over there. The trouble is that that's far too far away. If I tried to enlarge my my image, it would need so much magnification that the stream suffers. Now I have worked out a coot is woot, so it's white. So a coot has got a white bit on it. A moorhen is red, so it's a woot. And I think that swan might be very nicely coming towards us. I feel a little bit guilty because, okay, now I'm just terrified. I'll be honest, that's one of the most magnificent things I've ever seen. You're incredible. Oh God, sorry, I jumped. Yes, you are incredible, but also slightly terrifying, just so you know. Dawn, luckily I don't have to magnify it. Yes, you have an orange beak, so you are a mute. And also you gave lots of those grunts, which is very good. You are indeed confirming what I said. Where is your mate? Have you got a mate? I feel quite sad because you're on your own. Well, I do feel this is almost like a Britain's Got Talent entry. Laurie, I should do a short of that. I've never had that before. Also while trying to keep a gimbal still and not run hell for leather in the other direction. I've decided he's actually a juvenile. He's actually not yet ready for a mate. He was just actually displaying some of his moves for the ladies. Oh, and now he's showing me his bottom moves. He's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I do think he's putting on all the tricks for us today. I'm afraid I am not your mate. I mean, I am. I'm your friend, but not your mate. What should we call him? I can't run. I'm doing a tour. I mean, I might have run if I wasn't doing a tour, but you know. Last seen, knocked unconscious by Super Swan. John the Swan, I quite like that. John the Swan. Yes, John, I think that's it. Yes, I quite like that. It's also my father's name, so you know. If he tosses me a fish, I won't be impressed. Now, interestingly enough, swans will become aggressive when protecting their nesting grounds or cygnets. They don't have teeth, but they can peck and they hiss. They can sleep on land or in the water, and sometimes they sleep while only standing on one leg, which quite frankly is a skill that I have not quite perfected. Now, it's normal for you to see a swan folding one of its legs up onto its back. It's got a large surface area of feet, which is used for body temperature control, absorbing heat from the sun if necessary. Now, can you sex a swan? Well, with juveniles, you would really need a vet to inspect. But at maturity, at around 4 years, there's a difference in size. Males are bigger, and the black fleshy knob at the base of the bill is larger in the male. Now, they can get bumblefoot, which causes big lumps on their feet the size of marbles, but actually isn't dangerous. But quite cool to go into the GP and say, I have bumblefoot. To be fair, you're only going to be able to say that if you are indeed a swan. Yep, see, that little ducks thought better of going near Mr. Swan, John the Swan. Now, the iron in riverbeds can stain their feathers. Getting a bit of wind up behind me. Now, what we're actually seeing is John having a little bit of an eat. Swans typically eat pond feed, stonewort, and widgeon grass. Now, I like widgeon grass because I would like to see a pigeon eating widgeon grass. And they also eat tadpoles, which is less attractive, and insects. And that's if they live on fresh water. Now, if they live on salt water, they eat arrowgrass, salt marsh grass, eelgrass, clubrush, and green algae, which sounds revolting, as well as insects and mollusks. Now, what I would say is, I would not know what arrowgrass, salt marsh grass, eelgrass, or clubrush indeed was. But I would recognise green algae. Yes, bumblefoot. If it's on, is it bumblefeet? I mean, I'm not sure. Not spread by bumblebees, I'm guessing. You could just see through. The water's very clear. You can see John having a good old chomp down that. And I'm going to have to tell you now, I've got a bit of a secret to share, but John is actually an AI swan, and I just created him just for today. And John's now having some chums come and join him. We've got the lovely duck here, who's having a bit of a quack off. Nearly had a collision. Oh, they've got a lot to catch up on. They haven't seen each other for all of 5 minutes. Now, you can feed them fresh bread. Now, don't forget everything we talked about in my last tour, talking about ducks. However, this has obviously come from a verifiable source. However, mould is poisonous to them. You can also feed them grain, wheat or corn, fresh greens such as spinach or lettuce. I've never really seen people come out to feed the ducks and say, I'm going to take a bit of lettuce. Now, food should always be thrown on the water, as it is not environmentally sound on land. And also, it encourages them to leave the water, which is a risk, when they see people coming. So if they think, ooh, food will come when these humans come, and then they actually come out the water, and there's a dog or cars, it's obviously a risk. When eating on the water, they then swallow water, which makes it easier for them to swallow the food. Swans are not greedy birds. Unlike me, they only eat what they need. Be more swan, is what I say. Yes, of course, by chucking your food on the riverbank, it is going to attract vermin, and it is, if you're going to, I mean, at the end of the day, swans have survived a long time without anybody feeding them. But if you want to feed them, buy proper bird food. For the right bird, so not budgie food. Now, that's not my mate. Decoy duck, I don't think. It's just another white duck. I mean, not just another. I don't want to dismiss its marvellousness as a white duck. In 1247, Henry III had a Christmas feast. And don't listen to this, John. Do not listen. It included 40 roast swans. Now, likely they weren't adults, but fattened up cygnets. Now, in 1482, Edward IV introduced the Swans Act, which restricted who could keep swans, and it regulated their marking. Now, eating swans continued into the 18th century, but its popularity declined. No doubt due to cheaper birds being available. Now, when Mrs. Beeton published her cookbook in 1861, they only got a mention. And it's interesting how people would be horrified at eating a swan, but sit down to a goose. And when I say sit down to a goose, I mean to eat it, not to actually, you know, invite to the dinner table. Now then, would you like me to continue my wander? Or would you like to see more of John? As always, I will go with the majority vote. Hello, duck. Hello. Hello, Lorna. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Duck. It's very kind of you to ask. Okay, we've got 2 votes for John, 1 vote for Wanda. Leslie's going with the flow, which is interesting when we're in a river. Wanda, I think we've got Wanders. Wanders are, I think they're overtaking John. Sorry, John. You can go now. Thank you. Thank you so much for your input. It's been fabulous. And I hope you find your mate soon. I'm sure you're going to make a marvellous mate. You're going to make a marvellous mate. Now, this is the skill that you must perfect as a virtual tour guide of walking backwards. Now, I'll be honest, John's disappeared from view. See? When I said to him, we don't need to see you anymore, he's gone and hid. Just the back of his white, fluffy bottom. So he's going off with a honk there. No, John got the message. Look, John gave a couple of grunts and off he trotted. Oh, I'm glad Linda's got some nice pics of John, which is good. Do share on all the social media sites. That's much appreciated. And thank you to those who've liked the video. YouTube seems to promote videos that have lots Laura likes. And of course, thank you so much to everybody who's able to send me a tip. PayPal is my preferred method of payment due to the numerous issues with Buy Me a Coffee. However, I know not everybody can pay via Buy Me a Coffee, by PayPal. So I leave my link up there. And again, it's coming up. It's nearly the end of the tax year. So I've spent this weekend processing some data, and if I could ask as well, if you do intend to tip, please don't forget me. I know I've had some comments from some of you in the past saying, oops, you forgot. Now we get on to answer Casey's question, swan ownership. Now, the monarch has the prerogative right of ownership of mute swans in England and Wales. Now, would you believe there is an exception? The only borough is Maidstone, because as in 1619, King James I granted ownership of the swans to the town's mayor. Now, this applies to a stretch of the River Medway, which flows from East Farley to Hawkwood in Durham. And it reads, to have liberty to keep swans from East Farley Bridge to Hawkwood, and a swan mark, and to alter and change the same at our pleasure, and to seize and mark all white swans as our own, not lawfully marked, and to preserve them straying, and retake and rehave them. And because obviously we're going back in time to 1619, the spelling of mark is M-A-R-K-E, own is O-W-N-E, so had a few extra E's on things, just for, you know, just for. Now, from time to time, the mayor travelled, so the mayor of Maidstone travelled the river between these 2 points and held a court of survey. And the practice was revived in 1975, and the mayor of Maidstone court of survey cruise has been held ever since. Oh, interesting. There are literally hundreds of flies circling me just in that spot. How delightful. Now, a swan master was appointed, and the swans were marked by a numbered ring on their leg. So in 2019, there was the 400th anniversary celebration. It's a shame we missed that. Not another one for basically 97 years. So no, I can't count. 94 years. I'm not sure how I made that such a bad calculation. So the mayor and their swan master carry on the tradition of swan upping. Boats go up and down Medway to survey and tag the swans, and the ring has the name of the mayor and the year. Maidstone Borough Council made Mark Brattle, and he's the falconry and wildlife manager at Leeds Castle, the mayor's swan master. So that's quite a nice little title. Who are you? I'm the swan master. So I might try and see if I can do a tour of this. Not sure what it will entail. And there is also an annual census of swans on stretches of the River Thames in Middlesex, Surrey, Buckinghamshire and Oxfordshire. Now, this annual ceremony has taken place for hundreds of years. It's a 5-day journey upriver covering 79 miles, and it takes place during the 3rd week of July. There is a flotilla of traditional Thames wooden rowing skiffs, and it involves the King Swan Warden, who wears a hat with a white swan feather. The Royal Swan Uppers wear scarlet rowing shirts, and there are swan uppers from the Vintners and Dyers livery companies. And at the event, which is obviously a very historic occasion, they cry "all up" when they spot a family of swans. They lift them from the water and check their health, and they are weighed and examined for injury or disease. Young cygnets are ringed with ID numbers to denote ownership if they belong to Vintners or Dyers, and that's obviously determined by their parents. So they have to ask the swans. No. It'll obviously be, oh, I say, goodness gracious me, look at that. There's Mr. Sunshine for you. Now, crown birds are left unmarked. Previous marks were made on the top of the swan's bill. Now, since the 12th century, the monarch has had the right to claim ownership of any unmarked mute swan swimming in open waters, but now this is mainly exercised on the River Thames. And in the 14th century, Abbotsbury Swannery were granted the right of ownership. And in the 15th century, the two London livery companies held similar rights. Hundreds of years ago, there were severe penalties for injuring or killing a swan, including prison, even for stealing swan eggs. Now, interestingly enough, this law relating to ownership applies to dead birds and any parts thereof. Now, permission may be granted by the King's Swan marker for them to be used for educational purposes, but they may not be sold for profit, although an educational establishment or museum is allowed to pay a taxidermist for their work. Now, swan upping is more now about education and conservation, because increasing use of rivers for boating, fishing and recreational activities impacts their natural habitat. So steel and concrete used to stop riverbank erosion means river reed and reed beds disappear, habitats which swans feed on and nest. The King's Swan marker also advises on removal of swans for rowing regattas to avoid injuries, and works with swan rescue organisations on the River Thames and coordinates swans' movement when necessary for their protection or safety. Sadly, avian flu has reduced the number of cygnets illegal deposits of engine oil and diesel fuel causes severe stress and deaths, and there's also been an increase in interesting running water. There's been an increase in the amount of reporting of shooting incidents. Now, they are protected in the UK under the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981. And in 2020, it was thought that 32,000 mute swans are in the UK. But I think we can all say John is our favourite. Isn't this just a wonderful place to come? And I scheduled the time. Sorry, my hands are actually getting rather cold now, because when you're out of the sun, it's actually rather chilly. So I applaud my decision to bring the heavier fleece top, or heavier hoodie, and got a few more waterfowl here. Lots of ducklets. It's obviously highly sought after to live around here, and I think we did looked at a couple of places last time, and it's not cheap. But to have this on your doorstep, I think is quite marvellous. And interestingly enough, some of my sunset tours have not given us that glorious glow that we're looking at the moment. Originally, well, I was born in Leicester, Royal Infirmary. I moved at the age of 3 months, not independently. I'm not quite that skilled. Down to Hampshire, and I moved to Kent in 1997. And despite my family obviously wanting me to return to Hampshire, I am very much in love with the county of Kent. So I came here on my birthday last Wednesday and had a little bit of a sit, teeny wander. And that's technically therefore the end of the tour. Now I'm happy to walk you back to my car if you wish to join me. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining. I hope you've enjoyed the tour. Born in Kent. Where were you born? Do you know, Laurie, my birthday pizzas, so for those of you who wish to stay as I wander back, one was a bit of a disappointment, if I'm honest with you. It was goat's cheese and spinach. It just had a strange taste to it. And the other one actually was quite nice. That was the one my sister had delivered to me, with my rainbow tulips and my chocolate Freddos. I really enjoyed, really glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I do like goat's cheese, not too much. But it just had a slight tang to it. The number of flies, I'm not sure if you can actually see it on the stream, but there are an inordinate amount of flies flying about. I've probably inhaled a few, which of course fills me with delight. Ah, see, Mike, you remember our mushroom conversation. Well, I should hope so too, Rosie. Well, I'm glad you can't see the flies, but I can assure you, well, they've gone now. It just seems every so often I'll go past a little area and they'll suddenly dive bomb you. And it's interesting that they've actually marked this off. There we are, there's a coot, because it's woot. Does look like the sky's ablaze, doesn't it? Oh, somebody's got something to say. Not sure who it is, but I know. That's what I thought, Leslie, a crime scene. Ah. I know, Mike, because you have now taught me, after I don't know how long, the difference. It takes a while, but now I've got a system. A coot is woot. And I'm getting slightly excited because soon enough we will be coming up for our Bluebell tour. So I will keep an eye on those. And I look forward to, well, we're not actually in Maidstone, Leslie. We're in the next borough. So I've left my borough to come to Tunbridge and Malling, which is a neighbouring borough. And they're in all the flies again. Oh, Leslie, you'll have to keep me updated on the progress of the bluebells. We're too early yet, although the way I talk about months and dates, who knows. And we are now back into the housing development. And I'm going to turn the camera around and go, oh goodness gracious, look at my hair and all the rest of it, and go, thank you so much to everybody for joining me. I hope you've had a marvellous time. Lots of love, and I don't know what I'm doing next weekend. I was thinking perhaps maybe a return to Lewes or to Sutton Valence, so let me know if you've got thoughts. Take care guys, see you soon, bye.